We're the last afternoon.
Yes.
And to introduce you, Rob Dracup is the Senior Sales Director for Metratech. Talk a little bit about your background for a few minutes.
Okay, yes.
And I'd be keen to understand how you got to Metratech and what the path was there.
Yes, okay. Well, I guess I've been around the telco industry for longer than I care to admit, but probably well over 20 years, through a number of companies. Most recently at Keenan. Spent 7 years there, and most recently obviously under the Converse umbrella when the assets of Keenan were acquired by Converse. Had a very good time there, but times were changing. Converse were taking the company in certain directions, and I felt it was time to look around, and was very, very impressed with the technology and the vision of Metratech. It's a different generation of software. It's in an area that I know very well, having been 7 years in billing, a long time in the telco industry. But it just brings to the BSS software layer a whole different dimension, a whole level of flexibility that just wasn't available under Keenan or under Bill. So an exciting product that has proved to be very, very interesting to work around, and with some great colleagues I've known from before who've come over, and some really good colleagues that are making a difference for us.
Metratech's a Boston-based company, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
But I understand you have a large London presence. In fact, and you've joined the office there.
That's correct. I founded 10 years ago on the East Coast, as you say, still venture capital funded, but probably not exact sure date. 4 or 5 years ago, began to have some international ambitions. And we've built a significant team in Europe, and we're building up the same capability in Southeast Asia. So exciting times.
Well, it's unusual for a US company to have sales run outside of the US, which is your case, I believe.
Yes, that's right. The worldwide executive VP for sales is actually based in London, if he's not on a jet a lot of the time, of course. Right, but yes, he is indeed based in London, and but we use all the technology. We communicate very well, and it's a very, very.
You have a number of other key functions in Europe, in fact.
We do indeed. Yes, our CTO is European based. We have 24-hour support, so we have support centres out of Europe, and some of quite a lot of our marketing is done from Europe as well. So it's truly an international organisation. It's interesting you make the observation about American companies. I in the past worked for Unisys, and very American view of Europe. Europe must be the same beyond New York Harbor. They must use the same standards, don't they, and etc. Okay, it was some time ago, but maybe some views have moved on in the States. But absolutely, in Metratech, there is a international view of the world that's communicated, and the ethos of the company.
Do you think this has led to some of the, you've had a tremendous amount of success in the last 12 months, in particular international success. Has this been a factor, do you think?
I think so. I think the company understands its marketplace, and it's very culturally diverse. I mean, even in Europe, there's we sometimes joke there's about 3 Englishmen in the London office. I've got a team of maybe half a dozen people, and between them they can probably mount together 18 different languages. We are very international in our outlook and our employees. That makes a big difference. Being sensitive to the cultural differences and knowing what's required, putting people in country in the right areas, not flying them miles from their backgrounds, so their backgrounds match. We see that as an important part of the development of the company.
In terms of markets that you're targeting now, that's quite diverse and broadened as well.
Yes, it is. Yeah, okay, we've started with telco heritage, and that's probably where we concentrated at the beginning. Conference and collaboration in the US was probably our first sector success. But you know, we pushed on into mobile, MVNO, and fixed. But beyond that, we've had now got success in transportation, in airport charging, in finance. Our whole product, our whole philosophy of the product and its flexibility of charging is a large number of events, the sort of challenge that telco have, we able to take to other industries that have similar profiles, but we can address those markets, and indeed we are doing so. So we see that as important. I wouldn't underestimate the importance of telco. Telco is still a very significant market for us. Probably over 80% of our market is telco. But we recently announced win at Microsoft for online charging. Certainly not a telco customer, similar space in some respects. That proves that there are horizons beyond what might be just seen as a traditional telco model.
Well, I guess as the telcos are broadening out the type of products they want to be able to play with,
indeed.
Working with companies that already are in those spaces must be more interesting as well than the
indeed.
Traditional vendors.
Indeed,
charging.
Absolutely, and I think the telcos, I think they see the threats of Microsoft and the Googles of this world, and they see what they're doing, and they know that they either have to compete. So they are looking at the business models themselves, these challenges to their services are, and that's creating opportunity too. So it's no longer a simple business model. In the early 1990s, you wanted to launch a GSM service. It was very simple. You got the standards, you encoded them. That was going to be your business model for 5 years, and you went after market share. The world's a very different place, and I think the show's reflected that too.
What's your biggest challenge as director of sales? What's the number one thing you have to grapple with to push your piece of the business forward?
Yeah, to grow our business, partners are very important to us. We're still a relatively small company. We've got a big view of the world. Partners and channels of partners are important to us. So driving those partner channels is critical. And getting coverage from the direct sales force that is identifying the opportunities. We're good at that. We're building a strong pipeline, but that is always the way. And there's no doubt about it. It's going to be a tough year. There's we've got an outlook that makes the company larger at the end of the year than it is at the beginning. But it's going to be, that's going to be a hard fight. It's not going to get any easier with the environments we're operating in, and that's probably the big challenge in a challenging marketplace.
Okay.
To actually make the growth. Confident of doing it. We've got the right people, but that will be the challenge.
And has this show been worth a week of your time?
Yes, it has. Very much. It's a great place. It's a place where senior managers will devote a lot of their time to coming. So you can make those meetings, and it's probably the one show that will attract senior managers to make the meetings and the networking events, and that's been very, very useful. So renewing contacts, making new contacts. That's been excellent. So we've had a very, very good set of meetings. And I think the other one is just the impressions of the industry. It's a time you talk to people, you get impressions of what is happening, where things are going, the views about the so-called credit crunch and the effects of that. It's people, of course, talking about it, but it's good to have those conversations, get some context, get some other people's views, helps frame your own views, and that's valuable, and that's only achieved in face-to-face settings like these.
Okay, well, look, that's great. I'm glad you've had a good week.
Thank you very much,
and
mate.
Really appreciate you taking the time.
Lovely.
Cheers.
Thank you very much, mate.